Hi, welcome to the Elle Russ Show, where I deliver content intended to inspire, educate, and motivate. Engage with me online at elleruss.com and on social media. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, today I have a great special guest. She's actually one of my favorite authors. I have reread some of her books many times. She has so many, it's hard to count. Peggy McColl. She is a world-renowned wealth, business, and manifestation expert, as well as a New York Times bestselling author of Your Destiny Switch, Master Your Key Emotions and Attract the Life of Your Dreams. Over 26 years using her Power Life Script process, which we'll talk about, she just has a very unique, intimate understanding of the universal laws and really has been showing people all over the globe how to manifest any result they desire in their personal and professional lives. And so welcome to the show, Peggy.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so great to be back with you. I really enjoyed the last time that we were together.
Yeah. And for everyone else, that's episode 2 of the Elle Russ Show. Really great. We just delved into Peggy's history, her work with being pretty much the master manifestor that she is. But today we're going to talk about this wonderful book you wrote called Savy Wisdom, Savy. And this is just, it has the power to change your life is the subtitle. This was, to me, a wonderful book for everybody, but also particularly for kids or people new to the magic of law of attraction. So tell us a little bit about Savy Wisdom.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Savvy Wisdom was an inspired idea that literally just popped in my mind one day. I have a team of people that work with me, and one of the ladies had recommended that I create a video on how I wrote my first fiction book. And at that point, or by that point, I had released 18 books in the world, and none of them were fiction. And I studied fiction writing, and I worked with fiction authors as well as nonfiction authors. So, I immediately thought, well, I'm not going to create a video on something that I haven't done. And so I just sort of bypassed it. But then I started thinking, what if I did write a fiction book? And then the first thing that occurred, and this is what happens when when they make a decision to do something they've never done before, old paradigms show up, right? Old belief systems. So as soon as I had the thought, oh, maybe I should write a fiction book, the next thought was, well, you don't write fiction. Like, I'm not even sure you're good enough of a writer to write fiction. This is like the inner voice talking to me. And I recognize that for what it is. And I just said, well, what if you chose to believe that you can write fiction? What if you chose to believe that you're going to write a great fiction book? Wouldn't that be a better belief system to have? And so I talked myself right out of the negative thinking, right into positive thinking within seconds. And then I made a decision. And the decision was, I'm writing this book. I didn't know what it would be called. I just decided I'm writing a fiction. It will be a parable, loosely based on my life and meeting Bob Proctor. And I'm going to get it done in the next 10 days. And that's where the inspiration came from to write it.
Well, and it's great because the audiobook version, Bob Proctor plays Savvy. And so it's wonderful to be hearing both of you on it. And I felt like I listened to it on drives over and walks over several days. And I just felt like it was just such a wonderful, lovely journey. And I did notice a lot of the parallels.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And that's the thing that is fascinating is a lot of the readers have reached out to me to say that they find the parallels in their life. And yet their life is very different from mine, but it's the way that it's like the type of experience or the way that I overcame it, or the way that Sophie, the character in the book, overcame it. And so it's just fascinating how so many people are relating. Like one of my son's best friends, who's 29 years of age, he reached out to me, and I didn't even know he had the book. And he reached out to me to tell me what an impact, like what a positive impact that book. He says that book has changed my life.
Oh, yeah. Well, it can be a game changer. And I think, again, for people that are, especially for people like me who've been in this energy a while, it was a lovely, like sort of, just like a new lesson, a new re-implanting of all of the information, and just a lovely way to experience it again. And for people, I think that's why I think this is great for kids, teenagers, people who want to learn about the law of attraction. There really aren't a lot of books like this in story format. And I think this is great because Sophie's relationship with the sort of older mentor Savvy is sort of like her mentor and teacher through like learning the ways and the energy of the world. And it's really great to see then the trajectory of that. Of course, a lot of it parallels with your own life. Let's talk you've been doing this for so long. You're a master manifester. We've talked about it, houses, cars, you're a pro. But what do you remember? Like, what were some of your first initial manifestations that let you know that this stuff was working? People who are starting out, who haven't maybe manifested a car or house, or they just don't have that believability level yet, and they're in the beginning stages of understanding this energy. I find that sometimes those examples are fun because they're sort of just dabbling in and increasing your belief. So do you remember some of like the initial ones back in the day when you were first playing with this energy?
Yes, I did. Like, I remember in the beginning, like when I started studying with Bob in January 1979. So it was a long time ago. And at the time, even though I was young, I was 19, just about to turn 20, I was all consumed in debt. And I remember getting into this experience of getting a credit card and then getting another credit card and then getting another store credit card. And it just got to a point where it seemed so easy to get these store credit cards. And so that's what I was doing. And then buying, clothes or gifts or whatever, and until the bills start piling up. And then it's like, oh my goodness, like, how am I going to pay for all this? And there was no way I could pay it all off because I was working and had an income, but it wasn't enough to just throw onto these expenses. So after I met Bob, I made a decision to turn my financial situation around and to, increase my bank account balance and to increase my net worth. And of course, you don't focus on debt if you're trying to get out of debt. And the reason why you don't focus on debt is because you'll probably get more of it. And so
when you say focus on debt, can you tell us how that would work in one's head? Because they're like, well, it's there. I'm thinking about it. And even when I'm thinking about the abundance to be able to pay for it, that's still some attention on it. Can you unwrap that for us a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime you're feeling like anxious or disillusioned or upset in any way, which is what is called a negative, I'm going to distill it to be so simplistic. It's a negative emotion. It's a destructive emotion. All negative emotions can be destructive. And so if you're thinking, oh, I want to get rid of that debt. However, now this can still work. You're thinking, I'm so happy to get rid of this debt, but you're feeling good about it. You're feeling as if it is gone. You're feeling what it's like now that it's not there. That's good. That's positive. So that can work. Yes. However, if you're thinking, I want to get rid of this debt, I don't like having this debt, it really bothers me that I have this debt, but you're thinking, it bothers me, I don't feel good about it, I'm upset that I even put myself here in the first place, you're in a negative energy state. And that's not helping. It's not an alignment. Like, we hear this term all the time, get in alignment with what you desire. What does that mean? In the most simplistic terms, it only means and simply means feel as if you have that which you desire. Just feel it. Feel as if you have it now, like right now, not sometime in the future, now. And when you're feeling as if you have it now, you're in full-on manifestation mode. You are attracting it. Now, what happens is people get frustrated because it didn't happen on Tuesday like they wanted it to happen, or it didn't happen by the end of the week, or it didn't happen on the date that they were thinking it was going to happen. So they get frustrated and they throw out the goal. They just say, this stuff doesn't work. And I understand that because I was very much like that as well. So I knew that I had to practice, over and over again, getting into the feeling of feeling more abundant and wealthier. And so that's what I did. That was one of my first manifestations, was really work on that. It took a while. It really did. It took a while. And, but I managed to turn my financial situation around, and, I was earning more money, and I was just a better money manager, and I got rid of those debts. And so that was one of them. Another one, and this is back in the 80s, I was working for a large company, a large international company called Toshiba, which many people are familiar with. And I was a national marketing manager for a division that was going to close. So what Toshiba was going to do was they're going to move 3 of their office products into one division. And each one of these divisions had a national marketing manager. So I knew somebody's losing their job. And there was another guy that had been there who was, very much a favorite. of the president of Toshiba in Canada, and was doing a great job, well-liked guy. And he was basically in a position to take over this new national marketing manager for the office products division, which would mean I'd lose my job. So I knew that was coming. I saw it coming, but rather than get all upset and uptight and worried, I just decided, well, what would I love to do next? And Toshiba had just opened up a new division. This is when smart card technology was brand new. It was when their laptops first came out, and laptop technology was still fairly new. And I am a constant lover of new technology. I love technology. I love what it can do for people. I love how it helps people. And I was very interested in going to work for that division. So, and we're all in the same building. It was a large building in Toronto. And so one day I just walked from my office over to the other side of the building where this information systems division was. And I slipped into someone's office when they weren't there, and I grabbed their business card and I ran away, right? So like a stealing. And so I took their business card and I went home and I mocked up my business card because I had a Toshiba business card with my name on it, right? And so I took their title and that division and I put my name with Toshiba on it. And then I made a mock-up of my new business card, and I stared at it every day and gave thanks for it every day and felt how wonderful it was working for the information systems division every day. And strange thing happened. The guy that I took his business card, he got fired. Now, I didn't, want to manifest that. It wasn't what I was looking to do, but they gave me his job. And so it was kind of free.
It was almost like literally tit for tat. It was like you took the card and you became him.
I know it was, kind of bizarre, but that was one of my first manifestations, by doing the visualization thing. Also, when I met my husband, Charles, now that's not my current husband because I'm married to Denis, but when I met Charles worked for Toshiba as well. And he was in Montreal and I was in Toronto. And I met him when, he came, to Toronto for business meetings. And he was fun, a great guy, and we really hit it off. And I was probably around 31 when I met him. So when you're a 31-year-old single girl and you meet somebody you're crazy about, all you're thinking about is marriage, right? So I started putting envelopes on my refrigerator that said Peggy Poulin. His last name was Poulin. He's French Canadian. And so and his address, 902 Louis Maron, Sainte Thérèse, Quebec. And I put that on this envelope on the fridge. And I saw myself married to Charles. And Charles didn't want to get married. Charles didn't believe in marriage, but I was ignoring that. That didn't matter to me.
Right. You're like, I'm manifesting this regardless.
I'm manifesting this. It's like Neville Goddard teaches, deny the evidence of the senses. And so the evidence of the senses are this guy doesn't want to get married, never wanted to get married. He's not into marriage and whatever. And so 11 months later, I was married to Charles. But what I didn't realize is kind of like I remember one time someone said to me, you go into marriage with your eyes half shut. And once you're in it, your eyes are wide open. And so I realized very early in the marriage, this was not the best combination, the two of us. And we really weren't good together. He's very French Canadian. He wants Quebec to separate from the rest of the country. And I didn't even understand any of that. And I never understood the prejudice that the French have for the English. I had no idea. And so moving to Quebec, and I didn't speak English, and I got transferred with Toshiba to Quebec, I started to feel the prejudice towards the English. People were like, I would go into a store and say bonjour, and obviously I'm not French, and they would like turn their nose up at me. Or I'd say something to someone with my broken French and they would be pissed off because it wasn't perfect. And it's like, right. Hey, I'm trying, man. Like I'm working in a French environment. I was going to school at Concordia University at night, taking French. And anyway, so between, us just not really being together and we knew right away, but we thought we got to give it a chance. So we got pregnant with our son, Michelle, which is the greatest gift of my life. And I'm so grateful for that. That's why I'm so happy I married Charles, because otherwise I wouldn't have my son or my grandchildren. But I did manifest that. And then I manifested a divorce, but that wasn't a focused manifestation. The next thing I manifested after that was a house, and I had no money. I had absolutely no money to buy the house. And you read in Savy Wisdom a similar story that happened to Sophie.
Yes, right. And we talked about that manifestation of that house last time, which was such a great story. Back to real quick, just to backtrack a little bit on the husband thing. I mean, that's sort of a great example. And this has happened a few times in my life. You want something, you manifest it, you get it, and you realize, oh, I actually, I don't want it. It came in, but now my mind has changed. This has happened with devices, other things, material things I've manifested. Yeah. So I think that that's the key too. In fact, recently I wrote a post about how like your gut overrides your vision board, right? Yeah. Just because something shows up and it seems serendipitous, if your gut is saying no, you don't go, well, but my vision board image is staring me in the face, I should take it. It's like, if your gut's saying no, don't do it. And that saved me many times. You talk about how you are a master manifestor. You talked about how you manifested your second husband, how he just like showed up at your door. And that was such a great story. Now, by this time you were already, a master manifestor. And did you just put it out there and throw it away? Or did you go through a daily practice of feeling the feelings of what it was like? And can you detail to us sort of the juiciness that you got into that we can maybe emulate or sort of copy in our minds if this is something we'd like to do?
Yes, definitely. And what's interesting, I was on a team meeting this morning with my team, and one of them had said, we listen with our paradigms, meaning we listen with our belief system. So whether you're going to accept this as true or not is really up to you. But I want you to, if everyone listening, to put aside your paradigms, like put aside your disbelief just for a moment, because I want you to really hear this, because this could be the most important thing you've ever heard. And I'm not bragging because I'm about to say it, because I learned it from others. But the truth is, manifesting is really simple. It is simple. All you need to do is feel as if you have that which you desire. So doing processes or doing things or writing in a journal or reading or whatever, you don't have to do anything as long as you're feeling as if you have what you desire in your life now. That's the trick. I mean, that's the most simplistic way. The reason why there are processes and the reason why I've created daily discipline checklists and things like that is because it's not a habit for us to be that way, to feel that way. It's not habitual, but it can be. And once you are habitually involved in recognizing that all you need to do is feel as if you have that which you desire, you'll find it much easier to get into the spirit of, or to get into alignment with what you desire. But in the beginning, like when I think back to when I bought that home as an example, and every goal that I've set for myself has been a daily practice of feeling as if I already have it. Whether it is writing in my gratitude journal every morning, how grateful I am that I already have it, as if I do. Whether it is doing affirmations in the mirror where I'm looking at myself eye to eye and saying it, but really feeling it in my heart. Whether it's writing in a journal every day, a statement of fact, in my opinion, a fact, over and over again, a positive statement of how grateful I am, or I'm so happy and grateful now that, and writing that over and over again, or listening to my Power Life script multiple times every day, sinking that into my subconscious mind. Yes, I did. Every goal that I've ever accomplished in my life, I have done that with. But now I find, after 40 some odd years of being involved in this, now I find it so much easier, because I just imagine that when my feet hit the ground in the morning, or even from the moment I wake up, frankly, that I'm already the person that I desire to be, that I'm already experiencing that. So it doesn't mean that I don't worry or fret or get concerned or things like that. But the moment that I do, I recognize what it is. It's destructive. And so I shut it down. And, even if I'm looking at, certain things, like my husband and I own a beautiful home in the city. Well, it's actually outside of the city, gorgeous home. We sold our waterfront place just before COVID with the intention to buy another one, and we haven't found it yet. Well, COVID sent prices up to the moon. And of course, I'm still looking at real estate. My husband's going, why are you bothering? We're not going to buy in this COVID market. And I said, I'm not concerned about that. I know that, the right place at the right time, the right price is going to come along. And
well, I love this because in the last episode when we talked, you mentioned about that house in Florida that you were selling it during like the worst time to sell a house. And like even the real estate agent was like, I don't know, like he was not doing a great job. And then you did anyway for like an amazing price. I love, and this is a part of your philosophy of like, I'm not participating in that. I can still like, there's other people that do well in a pandemic or like, why can't that be me? And so I love that. What I'm laughing about is that your husband at this point even questions.
I know, but it just speaks true to the paradigms that we have, right? Like Denny was born in a very conservative family. He was raised on a farm. His father was a farmer. And, didn't have a lot of money. They lived in a little farmhouse. And then he went into the military, for 30 years and had a fixed income. And so, he's very fixed on his beliefs too. And he does none of this work. He's not into any of this. So when his paradigms come up and he'll say something like, why are you doing that? I don't let it affect me. And he knows that about me. He knows that it's not going to stop me from pursuing what I want. And he knows to not even bother to try to stop me, but it's not a fight. We're not arguing. Right. It doesn't create hostility in the home at all. I love and honor him, for who he is. He's a great man with great values, and we really are an amazing team. And I think he honors and loves me for who I am, and that we're both, neither one of us is afraid to be who we choose to be. We're not afraid to say our opinion and not get knocked down. We're both very confident people. So
what was the time? I'm curious to see if there was a time where he was like mouth agape at some manifestation or so, where he actually like his paradigm might've just taken a break for a second. And he was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it was when we had bought this multi-million-dollar home, because when we had bought it, we didn't have all the millions to buy it. But I had the desire to buy it. And he's like, you don't have a long period of time to pull this off. And I said, well, do you believe in me? And he goes, yeah. But you could tell, he's scared. He's scared. Like, if this doesn't work, we could lose everything. And I said, no, I don't agree with that statement. We might lose stuff, but we're not going to lose ourselves. We're not going to lose our mind. We're not going to lose our ability. We're still the same people. And, but he was very scared, and I felt it. And I was too. I was scared too, because I was doing something I'd never done before. I'd really, stretched myself, if you will, to a whole new level. And I remember when we moved in and the two of us were standing there, and this home was really unique. It was quite an extraordinary home where, doors had been flown in from other countries, and they were thick, thick, thick. I mean, very different from typical house that you would buy. And he was very proud of it. But I remember the day we moved in, he was like, this is ours. Like it was quite extraordinary.
Wow. What do you say to people, what do you say to this where people will go, well, then everything happens to me is my fault, right? Kind of thing, because of law of attraction. What do you say with people that like maybe on a great run with it, right? Then they get hit with like a health issue or an accident, they break their leg, or like they lose their job, or, something happens. Now, I know both you and I would go, well, hey, some of the best gifts in life come wrapped in shit. Sometimes you can't see that right away. So I would always think, ooh, this is going to be good. That would be my new paradigm versus like my old self back in the day. I would be like, oh, okay, hold on, this sucks, but something's really good's going to happen here. But what do you say to those people who are like, well, what did my mom attract getting into a car accident and dying? Like, how did I bring this to me? And they're in that freaking out about like, hey, I didn't ask for this and this is negative.
Right. Yeah. I don't think we control everything. We don't. I think we have some aspect of control. And the reason is because we're all creative beings. We're all creative beings. So, I can't explain why everything happens either. I don't know. And I can't say that the mother who got killed in a car accident attracted that to her. I don't necessarily believe that. I know there's some people who do believe that they attract everything into their life, or they want to know why they attract. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know this. Everyone is going to have adversity. Everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. We all have it. And as you know, Elle, I had it this year. I got diagnosed with cancer and ended up in the hospital. I was pretty darn sick for 2 weeks, 2 straight weeks, because of the reaction to the treatments that I was having. And I remember even when I got the diagnosis, and there's a, it's something very strange that's going on, which I think other people might call strange. I don't find it strange. I don't really believe that I have cancer. I never believed that I had cancer, but the diagnosis was there. And so I remember looking at the screen because I had been sent for a biopsy of a lump in my neck. And I remember going for the biopsy, and the doctor is about to stick a needle in the left side of my neck. And I said, the lump is on the right side of my neck. He goes, yeah, but there's 2 more over here. And it's like, 2 more what? And that really shook me. Mm-hmm. I remember leaving the hospital and going outside and sitting on one of the park benches and crying, going like, what the hell's going on? I mean, I was scared, but then I also realized that, this too, I can overcome. I didn't even know what I had either. And then the next morning, so I had that CT scan on a Friday morning. Saturday morning, I come into my office and I notice in Canada here, we have this thing called My Chart, and all your medical records are like, you can look at them. You can see anything, all your test results, your appointments, everything online. I think it's very cool. So I get a message from My Chart that my test results are in. So I open it up. Now, I'm not a doctor. I can't read all these words, but I see cancer, confirmed. And it's like, what? And I see not only is there 1 lump in my neck, there's like 5. And so I'm reading online, trying to figure this out. My appointment with the doctor isn't for another week. I'm trying to read this, and I remember coming into the office and saying to my husband, I said, I don't know if I have a year to live or what, but what I'm reading isn't good. And I think I need to wait until I go see the doctor. Well, that day we were leaving to go to Mont Tremblant for the weekend with my grandson. And Denny said to me, do you want to cancel? I said, no, we're going and we're going to have a great time. And we did. We had an absolute blast. We had a really, really, really great time. But then, I came back and had the appointment, and then they found out what the source was, which was in my tongue. I had cancer in my tongue, and then all these tumors in my neck. And then the oncologist, I met with 3 oncologists, a surgeon, a chemo, and a radiologist. And they said, here's what we're going to do. And we're going to do radiation works 90%, like you'll be cured 90% with radiation. So that's what we opted for. And I'm thinking radiation, no big deal. Whatever. But oh my God, my body did not respond well to radiation. I couldn't keep anything in. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I was losing weight like crazy. I was shriveling away. I was sick as a dog. And finally I said to my husband, you got to call 911 because I think I'm going to perish if I don't get some medical help. So I ended up getting medical help. But all throughout that experience, now I'm on the other side of it now.
Yay.
Yeah. Now, all throughout that experience, I would find the blessings. What's the blessing in this? The blessing is that they found it early. The blessing is that radiation is going to get rid of it. The blessing is 90% success rate. The blessing is I'm married to the most wonderful man in the world. The blessing is my family drove up here in a heartbeat to do whatever they could, friends, like people were out of the woodwork. My kitchen counter was completely, I have a big kitchen counter covered with flowers from people. Cause I'm not one to hide it or pretend, online. Like I did a post about it because there was a prayer, Lynne Mctaggart, who had done the
healing. I love Lynne. I'm interviewing her soon. I've interviewed her before. Her book, The Intention Experiment, is one of my favorites. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I helped her make that a bestseller. She was one of my clients. So I worked with her and her husband. And so Ariel Ford, who's a good friend of mine, she said, I'm going to put you on Lynne's prayer list, which meant it's going online and the whole world's going to see. So I posted on my Facebook page and said, join in the prayers, to see me perfectly healthy and to have this be a painless experience. Probably shouldn't have used the word painless because the word pain is part of that word, which I experienced a truckload of. It was a horrific experience, in fact.
But what a great testament to, even in tough times, throwing up, right? Having all these issues, not being physically under this kind of stress, still being able to take your teachings, your philosophy, and go, I've got to apply it now. It's no different. Yeah. I'm here suffering, but we've got to change this around and look for the good.
Exactly. And, so many people have said to me, you're coming out of this stronger. It definitely has given me a new perspective. It absolutely has.
Well, isn't it? I wonder if you feel, I mean, you must feel this way. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you go through some health thing and you're feeling horrible for a while, it doesn't even matter what it is. But when you're on the other side of it, that contrast brings even more joy to your daily life.
Totally.
Because people that have never experienced that, I'm not saying they can't be grateful, but it just increases it exponentially. Like, my first book was on thyroid health. And even though I've been past that for so long and I'm great and I don't have that issue. I mean, granted, I take thyroid hormones so that I don't, but I have days where I am just filled with tears of gratitude for remembering my old suffering self, like the gift that it keeps on giving.
Totally. Yeah, I totally get that. Like, I'm an Energizer bunny. I'm 62 years of age, but I have more energy than a lot of people. And the thing that I found really challenging was just not doing anything, like laying on my butt.
Right.
And especially when I was in the hospital, I did absolutely nothing. I mean, I was so sick. So I was hooked up to, all kinds of things on my body, IVs and stuff like that. But it didn't bother me then because I was feeling crappy, right? And then I came home, I'm still feeling crappy. I'm not sleeping. I'm not getting up. It wasn't. And then, I started feeling energy and it's like, oh my God, the energy feels good. Like, it feels good to be able to go and walk, from my driveway to the next driveway and not be at a wind, and it just started to feel good even for that. Feeling the joy of that. So you're absolutely right. The contrast really creates a great experience, a positive experience, but not for everyone. Because, not everyone who gets that kind of diagnosis, a lot of people say, why me? I never said, why me? Never said, why me? And it just proves that nobody is opposed to it. So did I attract that into my life? Maybe, I don't know. It could have been, Denny was talking to me about that.
Or was it co-creatively brought to you for another purpose we don't know yet?
Yeah,
right? Like,
right.
I mean,
Yes. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Savy Wisdom.
Yeah.
I've started to write, the first page of the sequel. So I'm doing a sequel to Savy Wisdom because at the end, of course, as you know, I won't say the end, but it opens up to what happens next, for Sophie and Savy. And so I am writing the next book, the next version of Savy Wisdom. And it starts with, Sophie, you have cancer.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So, right. Maybe that book needed to happen.
Yeah.
There was no other way but to give it to you. So let's talk, on the Savy Wisdom part, and again, without blowing the story for potential readers, but the ending, what we find out is presented in a way that I really like, because it's sort of, how do I even describe this without blowing it? I love that. Like, so certain things, you'll have a manifestation and then you'll learn things behind it.
Yeah.
About how it came together. Right.
Right.
And like you'll learn the invisible how sort of later in these nuances. And so I guess on that note, talking about money, I think it's very hard for people to believe that money can sort of come out of nowhere, right? Especially if you work a 9-to-5 job, you don't. And so if you don't have all these other avenues for income, then you might think, well, I'm not going to get some surprise call. Like, where could it possibly come from? Like, I don't have any other jobs or any other stuff. I don't have wealthy relatives. No one's going to send me a check. But I know that it can, right? Because when money, believing that money can come out of nowhere is zero how, right? It's like the ultimate in faith. And so if someone is in a 9-to-5, or like they're not a coach, they don't have other businesses where they could like get to a belief of like, oh, well, someone might call me today to give me money, right? Like some coaches could feel that way because there's things coming out of nowhere. What about the people that are wanting to manifest more money, but they're in a 9-to-5? They can't see how things could be generated other than where it's coming from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's their current belief system. So they've got to get a goal. First of all, what would you love? Like, get something very clear and be specific. And you could try it with a small amount of money. Try it with $10,000. I've been grateful that I've attracted an additional $10,000 into my life. Okay, what does that feel like? Same process applies. It doesn't matter what the goal is. What's it feel like to have that extra 10 grand? Great. So as soon as you ask someone, what does it feel like now that you have that 10 grand? What happens? You see their head starting to look around, right? They're looking around. Where are they looking? They're looking in their imagination, right? So they're seeing this 10 grand and maybe they're starting to think, oh, I'll buy that bike that I really wanted to buy, or I'm going to give $1,000 to my sister because she's been struggling and I think it'd be a really cool surprise. So they start to imagine it. And then you feel as if you have it in your life, right now. When you do that, when you are feeling it, when you're imagining, when you're totally connected to that outcome as if it's yours, ideas come to you. You don't have to know how. The greatest lesson that I have learned in the 40 plus years that I've been studying this is the following. You do not have to know how you're going to get your goal. You don't have to know how. And that is the biggest challenge, because as soon as I was doing a Q&A call the other day and someone's saying, and they don't hear it. Like I say it in the training, they're not hearing the words. You don't have to know how. So they say to me, okay, well, all right. Well, I know it works and I know the laws of the universe work, but I want to manifest this, and they're saying it as if it's some miraculous manifestation. And like, I want to manifest a new Tesla. Okay. Well, how am I going to do it? I don't know. And neither do you. And neither should you know. You don't have to know how. But what will happen is the moment you become connected to this outcome as if it's yours and you stay connected, ideas are going to come to you. They may come to you in the middle of the night. They may come to you by having a conversation with someone. They may come to you while you're watching a movie. They may come to you when you're walking down the street. They may come to you when you see an email that is completely unrelated, and then bam, something hits you. Oh my God, I remember my friend telling me about blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, it's going to come to you. It'll absolutely come to you. And you just got to, be in a state of positive expectation. Now, you don't live from the place of it's coming. You live from the place of it's already here. You have to feel as if it's already here, because and I see this as another mistake with people who are attempting to manifest. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. Well, that's nice, but how are you feeling? I'm feeling like it's coming. Feel like it's here. It's a subtle shift, but it'll make a big, big difference.
Yeah. I want to talk about power life scripting for a second. I listened to the audiobook Darn Easy, Work Half as Hard, Earn Twice as Much While Living the Life of Your Dreams. And at the end of that audiobook, you do a great rampage on power life scripting. It's like 14 minutes long. I mean, this thing is so amazing. I think I've re-listened to it several times. This is what I want to ask. Because that's you recording it like for yourself, right? Yes. So let's talk about power life scripting. Is this like we record it, listen to it every day? How do you do this? And then just give us an example, because it's like as if it's already happened. It's happening right at this moment. Like, give us a little rant on maybe how we can look at a power life script for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you do is you think about what would you love in every area of your life. And I say every area. It could be relationship, health, money, business, career, whatever it is, religion, whatever it is that's important to you. Right. And write it out in the present tense as if this is your amazing life. No one's going to see it. This is something that I think sometimes stops people. I don't want anyone to see this. They'll think I'm nuts, right?
Right. It's embarrassing, but you're like, for who? Yourself? Yeah.
No one's going to see it. So you write it out like, I'm so happy and grateful. My life is completely amazing in every way. Like, I'm financially set for life. My personal net worth is in excess of $10 million, whatever that is. You say it, but first of all, you write it. But you want to write it in a way that you can feel it, like you can feel it emotionally. And what did I say? I'm so happy and grateful now. You don't have to start with those words. You can start by just saying, my life is so, and you can swear if you want, freaking amazing, if you want, if that's the way you talk, right? My life's so freaking amazing. People often comment that I'm lucky, and I know luck has nothing to do with it, but I feel lucky. You can even say that, like I feel like the luckiest girl in the world. And, everything falls into place exactly when it should, exactly how it should. I'm so happy and grateful to have my significant other in my life. He is the best gift I've ever received. We have so much fun together. We're laughing all the time together. We travel first class. We go to these amazing destinations. And if you know what they are, including a European river cruise, or including spending a month in the winter in the islands, whatever it is, just describe it, but describe it in detail. And the most important part is so that you feel it. So you write it all out and then you record it. And I just record it on my computer. I open up QuickTime Player and I hit record. And if I, stumble or whatever, I'll stop and I'll start again. No big deal. Sometimes you might record a few times. I don't anymore because I'm pretty well used to doing it because I've been doing it for so long. And also I suggest be spontaneous. So as you're reading, like when I'm saying my Power Life script and I'm talking about our waterfront property, and I'm saying, how amazing it is and we enjoy our friends or whatever. Like I remember last time I recorded my Power Life script, I spontaneously added, and I've got this wonderful double-sized hammock between two trees that I go out and on a nice warm day, I lay out there, it's in the shade, and I read a great book, or I'll just meditate, and I describe it. So I can see it, right? I'm right beside the water. I can hear the boats going by. I can hear the loons, making their noise. And so you can be spontaneous while you're recording it. But when I record it with emotion. Like if I'm saying I'm happy, I'm saying happy. If I'm saying like how relaxed I feel, then I'm feeling relaxed as I'm saying the word. So really connect to it emotionally. But that's how you do it. Now, when you're listening to your Power Life script and you notice something's missing or you said something and you're thinking, nah, I don't think I really want that, take it off. Now, what I don't do is this. Now, because I said a few minutes ago, you don't have to know how. I don't say in my Power Life script how it's going to happen. So if I'm saying something like I'm easily earning a certain amount of money this year, I don't say, that's from X number of clients or X book sales of that book and this book, and it's from foreign strands. Like I don't get into any of that. I don't get into any of the how, because I know that's not my responsibility. That's the universe's responsibility. And so that's not in there. Now I see it like sometimes with my private mentoring clients, only with my private mentoring clients, I'll say to them, send me your Power Life script. I want to review it. And I'll see it in there. I've got 10 clients this month. I'm attracting another 20 next month. It's like
nope, take it out.
Yeah, your brain is confused. You got 10, you got 20. It doesn't know what you want. And there's no such thing as next month, the month after that, as far as that's concerned, is manifestation. It's all in the now. So you got to write it as now. Well, how many would you like? Well, I think I could probably get 10. No, that's not the question I asked you. How many would you like or love? Oh, well,
that's so classic with people, it's like, oh, hey, like what kind of salary would you like? And they're like, well, I mean, I think I'd be good with this. And you're like, I didn't ask you that. I asked you what you wanted, not what you think is possible or what you think maybe the market is saying you would get. Like, yeah. Right.
Yeah. When you think about that too, Elle, like I barely made it through high school. I've got my report cards here in the office and I pulled them out of the basement because I wanted to show them to some people because they think oh, maybe Peggy was smart in school, or I barely made it through high school. It was a miracle I graduated. I never went on. I did not do formal education. I ended up teaching at 2 colleges and I taught people how to use word processors because I knew I was working for the manufacturer. I knew how to use, I had a specialized knowledge. So I was working at night school, making amazing money for a young girl. I think it was 20 when I started teaching at night school. And the women in my class were older than me. They were my mom's age. I remember the first time I stood in front of a classroom at college. I'm 20 years old. I'm looking at the women in my class. And I'm thinking, oh my God, these are my mother's age, the women in here. And I was freaked out for a moment. And I said, well, get a hold of yourself. You know what you're talking about. You know this material. Just focus on what you know and deliver what you're here to deliver. And I ended up having a great time teaching it. But the point is, a lot of people think you have to have degrees coming off the end of your business card, as Bob would say. You don't have to have, Bob wouldn't say you have to have degrees coming off your end of your business card, but sometimes he'll talk about that. There's people that have degrees coming off their business card and they're struggling. And then there's people who barely made it through school at all. Bob went to high school for 2 months, I think.
And I got kicked out of high school. So, hey, I mean,
right, yeah. And they're earning millions of dollars. So it's not about education. I mean, education is part of it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with education. So please don't get me wrong because you're listening with your paradigms, but I'm talking to listeners, of course. But, it's education can be a wonderful thing. I'm educating myself all the time on specialized knowledge in the industry that I'm in. That's what I educate myself on. So I'm all for education, but it's, it doesn't necessarily guarantee you anything. mindset is what you really need to work on. How you feel is what you need to work on.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, what would you say was your biggest challenge you faced and overcome in this life thus far? Would it be the recent cancer diagnosis or something else?
Yeah. Probably that's it. It's definitely, it was the most horrific experience I ever went through. Like the hospital part of it was awful. It was not a pleasant experience, mostly because we got a real challenge with shortage of nurses. And I don't think it's only Canada. I think it's everywhere. That I was put into a room with anyways, it was, so that for sure. And the other most challenging experience was when my grandson almost died. That was absolutely horrific. He's 10 now. He's 10 years of age now. I'm very close to him. I love him so much, like he's my own child. He's my son's son. And he ended up on life support in the hospital when he was 6. And that just rocked my world, like absolutely rocked my world. And I am quite certain I had PTSD after that, because he was on life support for like 5 days before he came out of the coma. And they don't even know what happened. They don't even know what happened to him. He just started convulsing and seizing. He seized for 2.5 hours and then he just lost consciousness. They had to, intubate him right away. But nobody, they did test after test after test after test. He was in the children's hospital. He was in isolation. And then he just woke up.
Wonderful.
And it was wonderful. But those days, like I remember driving home from the hospital at night after being there in the waiting room. I couldn't see him, but I was in the waiting room every day and looking at, like, you get to a stoplight and you look at the car next to you and you think, you don't know what's going on in someone's life. You don't know what's going on. You just don't
know. Yeah.
And that was a hell experience for me. And even, coming out of, the hospital or, being taken to the hospital in ambulance, it's like, you don't know what someone else is going through. You just don't know. And I think a lot of people don't take advantage or they take for granted the amazing things that they have, like health, right? Yes. How wonderful.
Yeah, because no amount of money, right?
Absolutely.
Can override wonderful health and feeling good every day. So that's true. Well, we're so glad you're on the other side of it. And then, just give us a rewind here. Of course, we'll put everything in the show notes to connect with you, but how many books have you written now?
19. I'm working on 20.
It's so amazing. Everybody check out Savy Wisdom. And really, this is the best book for anyone new to this, or if you love law of attraction and you work with it, it's just a fun, re-inspiring story. So check that out on Amazon, Savy, Savy Wisdom. Anything else you'd like to leave our audience with? You also work with people privately. Tell us a little bit about how we can benefit from you. I know you release some videos on YouTube and yes. There's lots of free stuff on your website as well.
Yeah, lots. Definitely go to peggymccall.com. We have free stuff there. Sign up. And because when we're doing different things, like right now, we're also running a challenge. It's totally free. And the idea behind it is to get into the habit of success, because, these things that we've been talking about here for the last, few minutes, they are now a habit for me, but they weren't. And they're not for most people. And we know that because just look at the results. Mm-hmm. And so definitely go there, sign up. We're constantly serving people, especially in our social media. We do live events. It's not only me, but my team as well. I'm very blessed to work with people who have the same love and passion for the industry that I do, like you do, Elle.
That's wonderful. Yeah, no, it's so much fun. Thank you so much for all of your inspiration, all of the content you've created, and look forward to speaking with you again, of course, in sometime in the future.
I appreciate it, Elle. Thanks. It was such a great time with you.
You too. And everyone else, we'll see you next time.
Hey listeners, over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products, and I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.